The land was worked by peasant farmers who were allowed to cultivate small plots for their own use in exchange for labor they owed to the landowner. Transportation became easier because the Europeans introduced wheeled vehicles and the large, strong animals needed to pull them. Donkeys became a common sight throughout the countryside. Europeans also introduced the plow. This made it easier to cultivate lands where they could grow wheat and other crops that they had brought with them to the Americas. As you can still see in remote mountain areas, horses were used to trample the wheat to separate the grain from its husk. Sugarcane, originally domesticated in India, was introduced to the Caribbean islands. Ruins of 16th century sugar plantations can still be seen in the Dominican Republic. Life also changed in Europe and other parts of the world because American plants such as potatoes, corn, and tomatoes were taken back across the oceans to Europe, Africa, and Asia. This spread of domesticated plants and animals on a worldwide basis is referred to as the Columbian Exchange. Unfortunately, disease is also spread because people were traveling back and forth across the oceans. Native American populations had no immunity to Eurasian and African diseases, and their numbers decreased dramatically. European plantation owners in low, hot, tropical regions needed laborers who were resistant to the newly introduced tropical diseases. Africa provided a source for this labor as large numbers of Africans were forcibly shipped to the Americas to spend their lives as slaves. Meanwhile, Spanish towns and cities in the Caribbean region had to be fortified against English, Dutch, and French pirates who wanted to share the wealth of the Americas. In the 17th century, the French, Dutch, and English established colonies in Caribbean areas that had not yet been settled by Spain or Portugal. Struggles for freedom from colonial rule began in the early 19th century. By the 1820s, most of Latin America was independent from Spain and Portugal. New nations were established, each to create its separate history. The English and Dutch colonies became independent in the 20th century, but the French colonies remain associated with France.